Okay, everyone, welcome to our webinar this Sunday with me, Adam. I hope this finds you so well. And I wanted to do this because there's a lot of people have been asking me to share more insights and tools and practical tips about meditation. And obviously, I've been obsessed with meditation for a very long time, and it has helped me so much in my life. And in this webinar, I want to give you some of the real practical tools to really understand more about what meditation is, what it is not, and how you can apply these tools into your daily lives. And ultimately, I want to also share some of the deeper teachings that the Buddha laid out for us, because I do feel that his teachings are so practical for any times that we're living in, because these teachings have been around for 2600 years and they still apply today. They're very practical, and one of the things I like about them is that it it's not a belief system, right? It's not a belief system or a philosophy. These are truths about reality and what we actually experience. So for those of you who don't know much about the background of the Buddha, I'll very quickly relay his story because his teachings come up a lot in my work and my understandings. So the Buddha lived about 2600 years ago and was the son of a king and queen. Now he was born into a royal family, so his dad made sure that everything he could ever want in life was met. He was riding around on elephants, surrounded by beautiful people. He was living a fantasy life, like pet tigers for his, like pet play toys. And his life was a dream. Like he wanted nothing, and he had a wife and a child, but he always then started to wonder, well, what's outside the palace walls? What is outside the our kingdom? And finally, after pleading with his chaperone said, okay, look, I'll take you outside the palace walls so you can actually see what life is actually like. And he came across three things that shocked him to his core. One was an old person, like really old, decrepit, decaying, a sick person, like a leper who was literally falling to pieces, and a poor person, someone begging who didn't have enough money for food. And he saw these things and it just shocked him. It just shocked him. These things just rocked his world. He was like, why is there so much suffering in the world? Why is there so much pain that he'd never been exposed to? And it tormented him. And back in the day, you would go on a spiritual quest, and a lot of us go on spiritual quests in our daily life. Sometimes we go to India or Bali or these exotic places to do a yoga retreat or a teacher training, and we're looking for some answer into, well, why is there so much dissatisfaction in my life? Why is there pain and suffering in the world? And he went on his noble quest, and his quest was, I want to find out why there is so much pain and suffering in the world. So he basically relinquished everything he owned. He gave up all of his privileges in the world and went off on a spiritual pilgrimage, which lasted for several years. And he was the most extreme practitioner out of all of his friends. He would do the most extreme starvation techniques, sleeping on beds of nails. He was really like going deep, because a lot of spiritual practice, they believe that the biggest fear is the fear of death. So they wanted to liberate themselves from this big fear so they could overcome all fear and be liberated. Yeah, liberated from the fear of death and the fear of losing life. And after several years of studying with all these masters, nothing worked. Like nothing worked. And the Buddha was like, I've done all of this for 7 years. Like nothing has worked. So he decided just to give up, yeah, surrender. And he sat under the Bodhi tree and he said, that's it. I give up and I'm not going to move until I figure this thing out. I'm just going to sit here and stop. So he sat there and stopped, and he went into meditation. This is after several years of like hardcore practice. Some stories say he sat there for 40 days and 40 nights. Other stories say that it was under a full moon. But in that sit, basically through his surrender, he downloaded why there is so much suffering in the world. Yeah, why are there so many people that have problems? And he ultimately downloaded something called the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path, which is the foundation of what practice is in the Buddhist tradition. Now, Buddhism is a religion now because of very practical reasons, but it's actually a path. It's not a belief system. It's not a religion. And the mindfulness industry has extracted certain elements out of this. Now, the mindfulness industry is a humongous industry, but it only teaches us the very beginning step of meditation. Now, a lot of people tell me, oh, Adam, I meditate when I'm in the gym, I meditate when I'm surfing, I meditate when I'm out walking. And while that is true to some extent, okay, the Buddha said there are four ways to meditate: seated, laying down, standing, and walking. So everything we do in life is a variation of one of those four things. And he really talked about how we always want to be in a state of meditation, always in a state of what we call in the yogic tradition dharana, which means focus or concentration. That is mindfulness. We practice mindfulness all the time because one of the most valuable things you want to be able to do is actually be aware of yourself all the time. Be aware of what you're doing, how you're breathing, how you're moving. If you are at work, you're consciously at work. If you're driving to pick up the kids from school or whatever it is that you're doing, you are conscious when you're doing that. If you're out walking the dogs, you're out walking the dogs. We're not thinking. Now, thinking is a disease of the mind. Yeah, and it's not a disease that many people talk about. And we can all feel it that the older you get, the more pressure we have in life, the more responsibilities most of us have in life. And then we have to start to deal with the one of the truths of impermanence, that our bodies are decaying, we're going to get old, and we're going to die. I mean, at the moment, it's looking like there's some breakthroughs in science that might prevent that. But ultimately, at the moment, with our understanding, we're going to decay, we're going to get old, going to get sick, and we're going to die. And that's life. And as we start to age, we start to really become aware of that truth if we stop and think about it. That's one of the noble truths. Now, the other aspect is your mind is a supercomputer. It registers everything, every experience you've ever had, everything you've ever done. It always is registering. Now, if you never meditate, it's like having a computer where you just have your tabs open and eventually you've got like 1,000 tabs open and your computer just freezes because there's too much information and it cannot run its function properly because it's overwhelmed with how much has come into the system. Now, our minds are very similar. If we have taken in so much information unconsciously and, society and school education system doesn't really teach us how to understand what our mind's purpose is, it just becomes full and then we become overwhelmed. And then everything just gets too much for us because there's never a moment where we hit pause and reset. The other thing is we have grown up in a society of consumerism. Yeah, we're brainwashed from a very young age to always be reaching and grasping for things outside of us. And when we do that, when we are always in this state of craving or desiring, this is another one of the noble truths, we're always going to have dissatisfaction in life because all of those things, like I did that Black Friday post, because it doesn't matter how much stuff you have, it's not fulfilling. And that which does not fulfill, you can never get enough of. So all of these things, craving for more things, the overload of information, and this habitual pattern of thinking that we find ourselves in creates suffering because we miss the sweet spot of the present moment. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about is the mind. Yeah. So our mind, neuroscience says we think about 70,000 thoughts a day. Okay. 70,000 thoughts a day. Like, please let that sink in. That is insanity. Like 70,000 thoughts a day it's crazy. It's literally just do, 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 do. When is there a time to be present and actually feel and focus on what you're doing? Now, 95% of our mind is conscious Like we're aware of 5% of what is actually happening. Then the other part of our system is lots of unconscious patterns, programs, and beliefs, most of which we have learned through our youth and programs and patterns that we have adopted from our family patterns. Now, the tricky thing with this is if 95% of all of our thoughts, patterns, and behaviors are unconscious, 5% are conscious. This is why practice is so important because it teaches us. And a lot of people tell me, when they sit to meditate, they avoid it so much because they feel like their mind is speeding up. And it's generally what happens when we sit and actually practice meditation. Like true meditation is where we sit, we stop, and we do nothing. We actually start to watch the mind for the first time. And it's very normal to have your mind spinning and thinking and going even faster because you're actually paying attention to the 95% of the unconscious thoughts, patterns, and behaviors coming through. The good news is, every single time that you meditate, you are essentially wiping the slate clean of the mind and starting to just quieten those thoughts down. That's the beginning stages of meditation, and so valuable that we do that every day, like brushing your teeth twice a day to reset this computer. Yeah, it's essential. It's essential because these unconscious thoughts, patterns, and behaviors that keep playing out in our life is because part of our neural network system, part of it is called the negative bias effect. So this is different networks of the brain that come together that keep us safe. So if you've ever experienced a intense situation in your life where let's say we are hunter-gatherers and we're out walking in the jungle and we walk past the cave of a saber-toothed tiger and we see there's a saber-toothed tiger sleeping in there. We freak out. We have all of this adrenaline and cortisol dump into the system, and our brain fires on to say, remember this, danger, don't go there. Now, the issue is, and we would go and tell all the tribe. We'd be like, saber-toothed tiger there, don't go anywhere near this cave, super dangerous. And we'd all register that and we'd know there's a tiger there. But now there's no saber-toothed tiger. We live in such a safe environment. Now the saber-toothed tiger is our mortgage, our boss at work, our disagreement that we have with someone in a situation. Because who's been in an argument or a disagreement here? And then a week later, we're still ruminating on this conversation, and we're like, oh, if I just said that, I would have completely outwitted this person. It's happened to all of us. But our brain does not know the difference between the present moment, what we're experiencing, and what we're thinking. The brain thinks it's the same. It will produce the same chemicals if you're in an argument and you're thinking about this stressful situation, and those chemicals dump into the system over and over and over again. So the body will match whatever the mind is giving it, whatever mental image we're putting on the screen of our mind, if it's the argument, if it's the boss, if it's the stress of whatever you're experiencing in life, because remember, life is full of suffering. We can't avoid it. It's always there. It gets overwhelming and our systems can feel burnt out and we can feel disconnected. And that's why meditation is so important. Okay, team, thumbs up if you're still following me. Yep. Okay, sweet. Now, yay. Okay. What I want us to do now, actually, is do a short practice of a very simple technique of mindfulness meditation that you can take anywhere with you. And then after we'll do another sit. But I think that's enough of me talking. It's 20 minutes. So otherwise I could ramble for like 2 hours talking about this stuff. Now, breath awareness is the foundation of all practice when we talk about meditation. And it's often a step overlooked by people because they want to go on to mantra, they want to go on to all the like fancy things of affirmations or visualizations. However, breath is key. It is the most critical and foundational practice that we can revisit over and over and over again throughout our life. Because if we want to be in the present moment, we use our senses, yeah, to keep us here. That's one of the easiest things, using your senses to actually experience the present moment. Now, we breathe approximately 25,000 times a day, and most of those breaths are unconscious, and 95% of people in the world breathe incorrectly or insufficiently. Now, breathing controls everything. It controls all of our physiology. It's the quickest way to impact our physiology because it's our greatest source of nourishment. You can go without food for quite a long period of time. It's debatable how long, but a month to 2 months. Water, 2 weeks, but breath, just a few minutes and we're gone. Our breathing controls everything, and if your breathing is off, everything's off. Everything will be off in the system, and it's one of the most overlooked aspects of health and wellness. So the Buddha talked about this as being one of his key techniques that he used to reach his enlightenment when he sat under the Bodhi tree. And it's called Anapanasati or Anapana, mindfulness, awareness of breath. And he talked about one of the reasons why breathing is so valuable is because so I use this a lot, but you see those beautiful little baby monks in their robes, and they go off to be monks at like 4 or 5 years old, and they look super cute. This is traumatic for a kid. Like you're being taken away from your parents to go into a monastery in a monastic life with people you don't know, and they're taught on day one, look, Nietzsche, everything is impermanent. They say, look, every person that you love in your life, and this is one of the hard truths about life, is going to leave you at some point. Yeah. Everybody that you love in this world will die at some point, or you will die and leave them. Everything is impermanent. And these truths, yeah, this is why the Buddha downloaded the Noble Truths, because it's a truth. Again, it's not a belief system, it's not a philosophy. That's a truth. And sometimes the truth hits hard and it's like, oh, but it's also very sacred when you realize that everything and everything we're experiencing is impermanent. It lightens the load of the intensity of what you might be going through if you're in a challenging moment in your life. And also, if you're in a really good moment in your life, don't get attached to that either, because that's another one of the causes of suffering. Wanting to stay in pleasure, wanting to stay in this moment of everything being perfect, because that's not life. Okay. Where was I? Okay, the breath. So these monks are taught, look, breath is everything. Your breath is always with you. It's your greatest companion on your life's journey. It's your best friend. From the moment you're born to the moment you die, your breath is it's always with you. So they talk about making best friends with your breath, and that's what we're going to do today. And that the breath actually teaches us that everything is impermanent, that every single breath is impermanent. There's no two breaths are the same, no inhale, no exhale are the same. Everything is unique. Every moment is a unique opportunity for us to come back to that moment and just go, like, what a gift it is just to be alive today. Yeah. Because ultimately we have to remember that because we are all going to die. And the that's another one of the techniques they use actually in Buddhism is reflecting on your death and contemplating on it because it's coming and you want to be ready for it. And when you contemplate on it, you realize that every day is a gift. Every breath is such a unique moment to just come back to the here and now, which is the only place we actually experience life. So I'm going to take you through a short practice of Anapanasati, and then I'll continue the webinar and the lecture about some other techniques that we can use coupled with the breath to help us heal different aspects of our body as well. Okay. So stretch out, find a comfortable position, and if you need to lie down for this one, if you're like just really tired this morning, I give you the permission to lie down. Okay. Oh, one thing before we start, there's one thing I've got to give you the download on, okay? So some of the things that will help you learn more about the mind and why Anapana is so valuable. So Dr. Daniel Wagner of Harvard University did this experiment called the white polar bear experiment. I'll skim through it now, and I'll go into it in more detail later in the other lectures that I'm going to present. But basically, in the white polar bear experiment, participants were instructed to look at this picture of a white polar bear, to think about it, and then close their eyes, see if they could hold it in their mind's eye. And then they started to discuss different aspects about this meditation. And then they had another meditation where they did the same thing, but this time they were instructed to not think about the white polar bear. Now, what happened was they observed that an untrained mind naturally wanders every 3 to 5 seconds. And the other thing was that if you set your object on a meditation, so in meditation, we have two forms of meditation. The one that we use 95% of the time is something called object meditation, so that the mind requires an object to rest on, whether that be a breath, a flame, a mantra, a statue, something that your mind can fuse with and lock onto and rest on. Now, when you do that with your breathing, even if your mind wanders, eventually it will come back to your breath after a period of time. The third thing was that if you resist a thought or an experience, it persists. Yeah. Carl Jung famously said, what you resist persists. So if you resist your mind jumping or wandering, or you try to block out or suppress thoughts, that means they're going to intensify, amplify, and you're going to have more of them. And if anyone had their first experience of meditation like I did, I imitated what I thought a meditator was, and that's someone sitting cross-legged on the floor with a shaved head. And I did my best version of a meditator, and I thought my mind had to be blank. And it was a horrible experience, and that's what most people have in meditation. So we're not trying to experience a blank mind. We are concentrating the mind, going from a very distracted focus where we are constantly just being overly stimulated to getting the mind to rest on one point, which will be the breath, which we'll do now for a couple of minutes. Okay, team. So establish your chosen meditation posture, and that can be any comfortable way. Just like really sit on your sofa, have a back support if you need to. If you can sit in lotus, sit in lotus. Okay. Please begin with your eyes open and just look at one steady point in front of you, your focal point, your drishti or gaze. Maybe it's a mark on the wall, something at your horizon eye level. Now keep your gaze fixated on one point so that we direct what we're looking at, because your eyes are responsible for 80% of your brain's energy usage. So as soon as we start to direct the gaze, the mind gets more one-pointed. You can actually feel that the mind begins to slow down. We take a deep breath in. Exhale through the mouth, close the eyes, drop into your center. Do that again. Take a slow, deep belly breath in. Keep the eyes closed. Fill up completely. Breathe in all the way to the top. Hold your breath in. Feel your body full, light, expansive. Exhale, mouth, let go. Do a few more of those. Inhale, slow and deep, full and expansive. When you get to the top of your inhale, hold your breath in. And exhale, let it all go. Do that 2 more times on your own. So when we start to meditate, it's important to do a centering technique. Now, this can be your centering technique, this big long inhale, holding for a moment, and then a big exhale through the mouth. Just do it a few more times on your own. And with every breath out, really feel yourself just dropping into your center. And that's letting the sitting bones be heavy, letting the skin relax, and letting the skeleton hold the shape that you're sitting in. Good. Last one. Then, with your eyes closed, relax all of the muscles in your face, especially your eyebrows and eyelids. Then let your teeth separate. We keep the mouth closed, but your jaw completely releases. The cheeks soften. And we feel that feeling of relaxation from the face move and spread through the entire body. And I would like you to bring your attention and awareness to the sensation of breath below your nostrils. Do your best to keep your breath the same, so no changing or manipulating or shifting the breath. Just watch it. Watch your body breathe itself. Your body knows the most ideal breathing rhythm, the most ideal breathing rhythm for this present moment in time. Keep that same feeling of relaxation in the face and feel the sensation of the breath moving in and out. Because it's very calming and soothing for our nervous system to really just be at home witnessing the body breathing itself. It's calming for the mind because the mind can relax for a moment and just rest at home on your breath. Now, we're not battling the mind, we're not trying to control it, we're just guiding it back home to our breathing. See if you can feel the breath as sensation. Maybe the sensation vibrates, tingles, or pulses. And we just feel the breath skimming over the upper lip and the nostrils. Anywhere that you can detect it. Maybe it's on the edges of the nostrils or in the nostrils, or maybe it's across the upper lip. Wherever you can detect it the most profoundly, just hold your attention there. Now remember, it's normal that the mind will wander. And each time the mind wanders with effort and ease, you just guide your mind back home to your breathing. And just remember what a miracle it is to just experience your body breathing. Can you focus on your breath so that you really become aware that every breath is unique? No two inhales, no two exhales are the same. Really just be aware of what you are doing. We move into the space of the witness, the observer, of just remembering ourselves. And we do our best to really just cultivate this space of resting at home inside our sanctuary. That our internal space when we close the eyes to go inside and feel the breath is one of a space of being at home, being at ease. Because they talk about this in meditation, that we are actually in a process of cultivating right thoughts, right actions, behaviors. So stay focused, stay connected to your breathing. Neuroscience tells us that every time we bring our attention back to the breath, we are forming new synaptic connections in the brain. We are literally restructuring and rewiring our brain. Like learning any new skill or discipline, repetition and volume are key. So just keep going, stay persistent, do it with enthusiasm as we watch the peaceful flow of each inhale and exhale. Okay, everyone, please take a slow, gradual, big breath in. Exhale through the mouth, let it go. Bring your hands to meet in front of the heart. Thank yourself for your commitment to practice. Gently rub your hands. Cup your palms over the eyes to block out the light. Open the eyes in darkness, and then very slowly, when you're ready, can remove the hands and look at that same point on the wall or the mark that you focused on earlier. Take a minute to focus your gaze, direct it on one still point. And then when you're ready, move your body, move your gaze, and we come back into the space. Hmm. Hmm. Okay, beautiful. Okay, well done, everyone. So that was a short practice of Anapana, just like 20 minutes or so. And again, a lot of people overlook this technique because it's so simple, but it's just every time you do it, it's literally like just wiping. They use this analogy a lot in spiritual practice. So when we don't practice, yeah, when we don't do meditation, when we don't do any training, it's like we're trying to look out of, like I'm looking out of my window now, and it's like trying to look out of a dirty window that we don't really see reality clearly. And that's what Vipassana meditation is. This is a system that the Buddha created in that moment when he sat there. And Vipassana means to see clearly or see reality as it is. And every time we practice Anapana, we're just wiping that window a little bit cleaner and cleaner and cleaner. And the more you practice, then the window gets super clear. And that window is the perspective of how you look at the world. And when you practice a lot, you really look at the world as though it's a gift. Like everything we experience is kind of magical. And it's not that we're avoiding suffering. There's part of life is going to be, it's pain and suffering, but we see it as this unique opportunity of really remembering that every moment is happening right here and now. So it's so important to do it. And I don't know if you can feel it, but after every one, it's just that little bit of like, ah. And, we're slowing everything down. And there's a reason why people who meditate live longer because they're slowing everything down. We're slowing our heart rate down. We're slowing our respiratory rate down. You know, respiratory rates have almost doubled in the last generation. People are breathing way faster and more erratic. So just meditating and getting all of the systems to calm themselves down. And I use peace a lot and the cultivation of peace in practice because in Pali, which is the traditional language of Buddhism, is very closely linked to Sanskrit. It just came slightly after. And they talk about like happiness a lot, happiness, freedom, and liberation a lot in the Buddhist tradition. But happiness and peace, they're translating it from Pali. They're almost identical. And I feel like a more appropriate word, a word that we're trying to attain in practice is peace. Because happiness takes energy, it's like everyone's like, oh, what do you want to be in this world? It's like, oh, I want to be happy. But happy, like that takes a lot of energy. But peace is it's almost a bit of a neutral place to be at, and it's more attainable. It's definitely more practical. And I think of peace as happiness at rest. Yeah. So it's really important that when we do close our eyes and we can practice, if we can cultivate this space of our practice being our temple, our inner sanctuary, this place of peace where we just focus on our breathing and that's enough, then it's going to be a great resource for you throughout your life that you can revisit a place of peace just from experiencing your breath. And the other thing is, if we're doing one of the four things, seated, laying down, standing, or walking, and we can focus on our breathing, then we can be focused all the time in life. And that's where mindfulness training really becomes super powerful. And why I said earlier, the most important thing is to be aware of what you're doing all the time. So I'm in this lecture, I'm presenting, but I'm doing my best to be fully aware of it and not get carried away with it. When I'm walking out on the street, I'm consciously focusing on breathing. I'm walking and breathing. If I'm, if whatever it is that you're doing, even in this lecture, can you still just remember your breath and remember that you're in the lecture and not let the mind drift off to one of those thoughts? Because I didn't finish that loop earlier, but that saber-toothed tiger, that negative experience, that loop that we keep playing in our mind, that gets stuck. That can get lodged in our psyche and that can repeat itself unconsciously. So that 95% of unconscious patterns and behaviors, most of them are negative because we've been trained for good reason to watch out for danger. That's why humans have been so successful. But there is no danger now. So we've got to make sure that we don't have these old patterns of negativity and danger playing up in our life, that we can always be in the present moment and training ourselves to breathe in everything that we do, that you can just relax through life. Because walking is one of the most unconscious things that all of us do, because we've trained it so well, like brushing your teeth or driving the car. You don't have to think to do it, so you can go onto autopilot. But that's a dangerous place to be. We always want to be present because we know that most of the unconscious thoughts are usually negative. That's why affirmation, that's why mantra can be powerful, because we're starting to reprogram the mind. But the thing with affirmation, you have to combine that with elevated states. Okay, so talking now of elevated states. I talk about this all the time, and I implement it in my practice and my trainings, because this is probably one of the most important things I think that all of us can learn is, so there's an organization called the Heart Math Institute in California. I will put a link in the description when I post this on YouTube to the Heart Math Institute. Now, they've been studying the heart since I think 1991 or 1992, and they've got so much work on heart intelligence, that when you are in heart coherence, if you measure the heart on an EEG machine, um, you have these beautiful coherent rhythms, even waves. And when your heart goes into this even wave, it affects your brain. It actually tells your brain to slow down, and because we're more in the heart of feeling, heart is feeling, and it emits an electromagnetic field that is massive, meters around the body. So if you can train yourself to be more in the felt sense experience of your heart, to feel your heart as your mindfulness breathing, it radiates a field of energy around you. And if you've been around a new couple in love, or someone who's just had a baby, or someone who's got a new puppy, there is a bubble of love that you can feel. And Heart Math Institute have measured it. They've measured people walking into a room with heart coherence and their heart field affecting the person in their room. Now, if that's true for these elevated states of gratitude, compassion, and love, heart coherence, the same is true for the opposite. That's why you go to certain places and also you come into contact with certain people and you actually feel it. You're like, oh, that person's, you could feel that their energy was really off. And unless you know how to train your energy, it can affect you. So in 1991, Dr. Amor Aroma discovered that there were actually, she had this breakthrough finding with the heart intelligence, and she found over 40,000 neurites in the heart, and they look exactly the same as clusters of neurons in the brain. And she coined this term sensory neurites. Like we all know we have a brain, and then you have the heart brain and the belly brain. So the heart brain contains over 40,000 sensory neurites, and it has its own intrinsic nervous system.
Absolutely.
And it feels, your heart feels. We all know that feeling of when we lose somebody, when something bad happens to us, if we have a breakup, the heart feels it. And we feel that, like, oh, yeah, the Chinese system, Chinese medicine talk about sadness and grief being stored in the lungs, and it's the heart. Yeah, it's this whole region that's all connected here. And with that breakthrough, she found that actually, when we can drop into the heart and focus more on the heart, it actually affects the brain way more than the brain affects the heart. So often we're trying to think our way through life. We're trying to think about how we solve our problems. We're trying to think about how we can get out of the places that we're in. But if we can drop into the heart sends, so the amount, it's 80% energy is sent up from the heart to the brain, only 20% comes down from the brain to the heart when we're talking about this connection with this neurological system of the brain and the heart. So if we can go into more elevated states, the elevated states are compassion, gratitude, thankfulness, and we can just feel into the heart with these states, and we can put more energy into the heart, the mind slows down. Yeah, the brain slows down. So I mean, there's lots and lots of different things that I teach people all around different energy centers, different mudras that you can play with the heart, different techniques where we can warm up the heart to bring more awareness there. Because um, one of the things that they talk about in practice a lot is that when you cultivate practice, so when you're practicing anapana and you've purified your energy and you've gathered energy, you might have felt it. Sometimes when you do practice, you might feel a bit drowsy when you come up, but generally it gives you a lot more energy. They say the most important thing you can do with that energy is share it. So you would do your meditation practice, and then we do something called metta. Metta meditation is love and compassion or kindness meditation techniques. And that's where you share this charge of energy that your heart radiates a field of energy out, like the heart math have shown, and you basically charge that. Now they talk about sending it, but the way I teach it is that you have to feel it and it overflows and vibrates out into the field. And it's just your heart overflowing with this love and compassion. So in the beginning, you just practice building up this field. And then when it gets bigger and stronger, you can start to share it with people. You can share it with your family in the beginning. You can share it with your friends in the community around you. You stay at the level that you can feel it, and then you start to make it bigger and you go out to friends, neutral people, and then anybody, yeah, any living being. So I'd like to take everyone through a metta meditation practice where we really start to we'll do some simple exercises to charge the heart and then move the energy out from the heart. Now, the other thing I want to share with people is, um, one of the quickest ways to affect us, like I said, was breathing. And it's really important that when you practice that you have a system where you can do a deepening exercise. It's a bit like, mm, athletes train themselves, that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 or 3, 2, 1, go. We want to train ourselves exactly the same when we're meditating because you're taking control and commanding your your being. You're taking control. You're like, hey, look, we're stepping into meditation now, because that's one of the biggest obstacles on the practice, and you have to meet yourself at some point where you go beyond your physical body. So because we have unconscious habits, thoughts, and behaviors, they come up physically. That's why it's hard to drop physical addictions because they're hardwired into the body. And there's a moment where in the traditions where they talk about it a lot. I don't like this, the monkey mind where it jumps around and the monkey's untrained. We're primal, we're animals, but we have this super consciousness in our brain. We have developed this over a period of time now where we're moving beyond the lower tendencies, lower three chakras, and we're taking control of the body. And at some point in your practice, there's a moment where you control the body, where it's like you sit there and you're like, hey, body, I'm in control now. There's none of these unconscious like movements. We're just sitting in whatever we're experiencing. We're not trying to be pleasurable. We're not trying to avoid pain. We're just sitting. And when you do that, so that's why if you do a countdown or a deepening exercise or a breathing technique quickly, it is just a command for your body that, hey, I'm in control. This is what we're doing. End of story. Okay. So when we look at training our system, so if we want to go from, and I know there's a few people messaged me before we started the practice who are kind of struggling a little bit at the moment. Again, the worst thing you can do is try and think your way out of that struggle. And there's only so far that exercise really helps, obviously, taking care of yourself, cleaning up your diet, all of these things help so much. And also, you got to address the mind. Yeah. You got to address how much input to output you're going through. The Buddha said the mind is everything. What we think we become. And you can go to the gym, you can eat all the healthy food that you want to, but if you do not have peace in your heart and your mind, nothing is going to work. Okay. So one of the quickest ways that we can reset our physiology to come back to homeostasis is a breathing technique called the physiological sigh. The physiological sigh looks like this. So you'll know if you've been in my class, I teach this all the time because it's so effective. You take a big inhale through your nose. When you get to the top, another short pump to stretch your lungs open, and then you do a big sigh through your mouth. Now you can do 2 to 5 minutes daily. This resets anyone who's got anxiety issues, And it also recorrects your breathing as well. Those expanded breaths literally reset the respiratory system. Just one of them throughout the day resets. So often when I'm walking around, I'll be like, and come into the now. You got to give yourself triggers to break the programs, to break the patterns. So in this practice, we're going to do physiological sigh for 2 minutes. And we're going to rub our hands together to get energy in the hands. And we're going to bring that onto the heart and then charge the heart with energy and focus on elevated states of love, gratitude, and compassion. And after that practice, I'll do a little bit more talking, not much, and then I'll open it up for Q&A. Okay, everyone. Um, so choose your comfortable meditation posture again, and we'll start with the physiological sigh. We'll do a minute with the eyes open and about a minute with the eyes closed. So choose that mark on the wall in front of you again. This is one of the techniques I always use to center myself. So it's first gaze. So I go, okay, vision is responsible for so much information. Directing gaze, observing that the mind is slowing down. I become very present of what I'm doing and where I'm sitting. And then the breathing technique of physiological sigh you can use, or the what breath we did earlier, but this one will do physiological sigh. Inhale deep. Again, exhale mouth. Double pump in, let it go. Beautiful. Keep going, fully in. Long breath out through the mouth with a big sigh. Keep going as I talk to you. Keep looking at that focal point. Now, as you do the sigh, relax your facial muscles, relax your skin, relax your body, sigh everything out. Keep going. Double pump in. Stretch the lungs open on the second breath. With the exhale, let go. Beautiful. Double pump in. It's normal to feel some tingles. Keep going with the technique. It's normal to feel some vibrations. Feel everything and try to react to none of it. Good. Keep going. Double pump in. Long breath out through the mouth. Nice. Let's close the eyes now. Close the eyes. Double pump in. Exhale, mouth. Beautiful. Big double pump in. Long exhale through the mouth. Good. Keep it going. Stretch on the inhale. Relax on the exhale. Beautiful, everyone. Keep going. Another 5 more rounds. Double pump in. Long breath out. Good. Keep going. Last 3. 2. And final 1. Breathe out, breathe out, breathe out, breathe out. Stop breathing for a moment. Just hold the breath out. Relax your entire body. If you're pregnant, please do not hold your breath. Slow your heart rate down. Let your whole body relax. Now, very slowly, take the deepest breath in you possibly can. Fill up completely. Hold the breath in at the top. Rub your hands together and charge your palms with energy. Yeah, like really rub your palms as firmly, as powerfully as you can. Keep holding the breath. And then exhale through the mouth, let go. Bring your hands onto the heart, more the center of the chest, the spiritual heart, and feel the warmth of your hands beaming into the chest. As we breathe, focusing on the heart center, feel warmth there. Yeah. Feel energy beaming there. Feel how the hands are touching your chest. Feel how the chest is meeting the hands. Keep your facial muscles soft and put a small smile on your face. Now breathe slowly and deeply and make your breath out a little bit longer. So still breath awareness, but the location of the breath awareness of where we're placing our attention has changed. This is the heart center. Now, as you breathe in and out of the heart with a longer exhale to slow the nervous system down even more, can you just say thank you to your heart? Say thank you to this incredible center that beats approximately 100,000 times a day. Can you thank your heart for its courage, its capacity to love, for the functions that it does on a physical level? And keep smiling into the heart. Feel that warm field of energy at the heart center. Now, I'd like you to recall a moment in time where you were feeling so filled with gratitude, with love, with compassion. That feeling of getting a new dog, of the birth of a child, whatever it is, buying a house, a new job, a moment where you were just feeling like a magical sunset, summiting a mountain, amazing run on the slopes, whatever it is, some moment in your life where you're like, that was amazing. Remember it, and feel that gratitude. Feel the thankfulness for that moment in your heart center. Keep focusing on the breath, slow, deep, long breaths out. Stay in this elevated state. Stay in the elevated state. So we're training ourselves now to be able to stay in this elevated state of gratitude, of thankfulness, of joy. Now run through all of the different things that you can be grateful for in your life. Think about the amazing people, friends, colleagues, projects, anything that you can be grateful for. Like the laptop or phone that you're on, like really remind yourself of everything around you, of how lucky you are just to be alive. Remember, one of the causes of suffering is this endless desire for more, the craving. And we're just training ourselves to be content, to be happy and peaceful with everything that we already have. Feel it, it's a gift. Every breath, every heartbeat, like every smile that we share with someone, every single day is a unique moment. So stay in it. To keep that smile on your face and stay in the feeling. Remember, we're always staying in the feeling of the heart. Now, can you start to feel that heart energy and that heart field expanding and moving through your entire body? Can you feel the pulse or the vibration of energy as it moves from the heart? And can you feel it filling the room that you're in? Can you feel the corners or the walls of the room that you're in, the ceiling, the floor, the space that you're sitting in? Stay in the elevated state of the heart of gratitude, thankfulness, compassion. And if there's anyone in your room or your home or your building, can you just feel into them with loving awareness? Everything your awareness touches is infused with your love and awareness, loving everything that is in the space that you're in, the field that you're in. Can you expand that to move through the building that you're in and any plants, any people, any animals? Stay in the feeling of the heart. Feel the heart like a love generator overflowing as we move the energy out even bigger now, as it moves through the town or city that you're in, through the trees, mountains, rocks, the landscapes. Keep going as you move through your country. To the continent that you're on. Feel your loving awareness moving through all of the continents, through the great oceans, around the entire world. Can you feel into the entire world with your loving awareness from the heart center and expanding out into the universe farther than we can comprehend in all directions? Take a deep breath in and stay at your heart. Regather the energy, breathing into the heart, focusing the breath there, making the breath out longer, and staying in this peaceful center, cultivating love, compassion, gratitude, of joy, of inspiration, feeling it at the heart center. Just stay there for a little bit longer, feeling the gratitude, feeling the energy at the heart center. Take a moment to thank yourself for the practice. Thank everybody that is here live or tuning in. And then very slowly come back around. You can rub the palms if you want to, like we did earlier, of gently rubbing the palms and cupping the eye sockets. It's a nice way just to come back slowly, because remember, it's a real big shift to come back around to eyes open after that. So we open the eyes and then we look at that one still point in front of us as we take our time and come back around.
Are you okay, special boy? You okay, special baby?
Practice that open eye gazing for a minute so you really adjust back into this new setting, that you're seeing reality a little bit more clearly now as we come back into the space. Okay, friends. So that was a short practice of the physiological sigh and metta. Now, it's so important that we practice dropping into the heart multiple times a day. It's such a powerful energy center. And again, if we're always thinking, if we're always in the mind and we're never really feeling, there's this disconnect here. Yeah, there's a disconnect. And the more time that we can spend charging this center and cultivating it, the heart is the bridge. Yeah, they call it the bridge from the chakras as we move from the lower chakras to the upper. It's responsible, like if the heart's out of balance, the lower centers are not going to be healthy. Physically, we're not going to be healthy. But also, if we move up, a lot of the more, let's say, spiritual centers or elevated centers will not work properly either. The heart has to be healthy. We have to gather and cultivate so much energy here to make sure that these two other centers or two clusters of energy centers work in harmony. Because often, we're always wondering in the spiritual community, well, why is there so many people creating suffering with all the things that certain people do? And it's this disconnect from their heart. You've got to have the heart healthy. It's got to be healthy as well as we move beyond the power and the ego into compassion, love, and kindness. Um, so I think the key takeaways for today's session, I'm going to open up for Q&A now, but we learn how to meditate. Yeah, you sit down, you meditate. You can lie down as well. We always want to be in a state of meditation. We always want to be concentrated and focused and really being aware of what you're doing. Like really, when you catch yourself thinking, use a cue. This is the homework I'm going to set for everybody here. Your homework is when you catch yourself in your mind, give yourself a cue. So for years, I did this one where I would be hand on my heart. I was like, oh my God, okay, big breath in, now. And I would just do that all the time. Just be like, okay, now. And then physically come back into your senses. Whatever you're doing, be very conscious, be aware of what you're doing, and whatever you're doing, be relaxed in what you're doing. This is really important. I can't emphasize this enough. Be relaxed in what you're doing. Okay? We learned that if you suppress thoughts, they multiply. So don't try to block out thoughts when you're meditating. Just witness them, observe them. We touched a little bit on the story of the Buddha and the noble truths, which I'm going to unpack in a lot more detail. And we didn't get time to go through the full Eightfold Path, but that's something I'm going to cover as well. So, what I want to do now is I just want to talk about something that I'm going to do in January. So I've got a lot of people that want to do more practice, and me too. I want to teach more and do more practice. On January the 2nd, I'm going to do a hybrid, which I've never seen being done before, and I've never done it either. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's a hybrid between a challenge and a training. So for people who just want to deepen their practice and come in and practice meditation every day, it's going to run for about a month. And every single morning and every evening, there are specific practices to do. And then on the weekend, there's going to be lectures. So I'm going to pre-record some of the lectures. I'm going to do some of them live. And every day I'll be doing Q&As with the lectures as well. And we'll do open discourse. Now, that will be the challenge that will run for a month. Within that as well, we'll do Ekadasi Kriya, which is the most powerful pranayama practice you can ever imagine. It's designed to recorrect imbalances in the nervous system that we've picked up on our life's journey. It's mind-blowing how powerful this breathing technique is. It builds up over 11 days, getting stronger, and there's a 3-day cooling down period. So I'll be teaching a lot about pranayama and the breath on this course as well. For those of you who just want to do the practice, you just come in, you do the practice, that's your challenge. But I know a lot of people that are in my field are teachers, and for those of you who are teachers, there'll just be some extra homework for you to complete, for you to get your 50-hour meditation teacher training certificate on that one. So that will be the hybrid, and it will launch, we'll start on January the 2nd, and in the meantime, I'm still going to do weekly sessions with the Academy of Awakening. I'm going to do different tier prices so everyone will be able to afford it, no matter what your financial situation is. So everyone can do this. I just want to get as many people practicing in this New Year period because it's so powerful to do it. And we can talk about this all we want. It's really valuable to get the information so that you understand what you're doing and you turn that into wisdom, but the wisdom comes through practice. And that's really what I want to bring in. We're going to practice a lot in that month. Yeah. So it's going to be really, really deep, and you're going to learn how to meditate, and you're going to walk away with it knowing so many new skills and tools. So if that interests you, let me know. Just send me a message and I will send you all over the information, but I will start to promote it on my social. I just wanted to do this to share it live with the community first. And yeah, just if anyone has any questions on what we've done today, anything about the session, now I'm going to open up for the next 10 minutes. We'll just do a quick Q&A on a couple of the things that we've covered, and if you have any questions moving forward. So Thank you, everyone. If you want to tune out now, appreciate you all so much. Keep up your practice. I hope that some of the tools that you learned today will serve you and just keep going. Remember, it's like brushing your teeth. You've just got to put it into your daily routine that, okay, I'm going to sit down and I'm just going to stop. I'm just going to be, yeah, human being. We've lost that, like, okay, I'm just going to be today. I'm just going to take 5 minutes or 20 minutes or an hour to be, especially if you're busy. Okay, team, I will ask everybody to unmute individually, and then if you have any questions, you can fire away. You can raise a hand, you can say hi. 1 second, let me just go through everybody to unmute. Wait,
Mm.
ask all to unmute. So there you go. You should be able to unmute yourself now. We just unplug the speakers so we can go for the Q&A. Yes, amazing.
Thank you, Adam. It's Shay. Good to see you. Thank you for holding this space. Can you hear me okay?
1 second. Are you hearing me now?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can. I don't see you. Who's talking right now?
It's me, Shay. I've got a bonnet on, so I won't put my video on.
Yeah.
It's good to see you. Thank you for holding this session. I'm joining you from London, so I'm not in Swansea, and I've noticed how difficult it is to find place to ground and be in London, which is, part of why I moved to Swansea. And I just wondered, what is that resistance? Why have we evolved to be so in our head? And why do we think that is safer than being and living from our hearts?
Yeah. Great question. Great question. So I think most of us can. So cities are real challenges, and even in the time of the Buddha, 2,500 years ago, this was the topic of conversation. It's cities have an energy where it's very much around a hustle and bustle and do 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 do. Like everything is just more, 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 more of everything. And when you're in that collective energy and you step out of it, you can feel the difference of it. That's why nature is so therapeutic and so healing, because it is a natural vibration. And when we're in that natural vibration, it's like, oh, this feels so peaceful and calming. And what we're doing when we meditate is we're learning how to attune ourselves with that natural vibration and frequency within us when we practice. And that's why you've got to cultivate this being your inner sanctuary so that when you are in the city and you are in places like, London or New York or any of these like big, big charged cities, that you're able to cultivate that inner stability and inner peace inside you because the outside world there will not create it. So cities have really developed so much over the years, and there's so much, there's so many different frequencies there that interfere with your frequency. You've got Wi-Fi, you've got Bluetooth, you've got all the radios, you've got so much energy, you've got the vibration from cars and buildings and AC or heating systems. It's a huge vibrational field of energy, and it's a mass then of so many people living in a condensed place, which is also very unnatural as well. So often when we're around too many people, for our nervous system, that tweaks our nervous system up because naturally we're not used to being around so many people. And the the thoughts, so there's a lot of hmm, um, Carl Jung talked about this as well, where he talked about we have a collective unconscious. So there is a field of thought energy that's floating around everywhere. And that's why TV, television, and watching programming people, um, programs the collective energy of a city. If people watch too much television and get programmed, that it creates a mental thought pattern. You look at the media, you look at the news, it plays on all of our lower tendencies of fear, of scarcity, of fear about other, of drama, basically. And we're not designed to handle knowing about every single war and famine and all around the planet. Our nervous system is not designed to be able to handle that. And all of those factors that I talked about, basically create disharmony in the mind or dis-ease because it's just an overload of having too many of those tabs open. And the modern world is just, like you said, it's more, like more of everything. So that's kind of my summary of what I feel. That's why, Shay, if you meditate a lot, it gets much easier. It gets much easier to be able to navigate that. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, it did. Thank you so much. Because you're right, it does feel so unnatural, even though being a Londoner, right? It just feels so unnatural to be here. And it feels like even the little trees that we can get access to, they feel so sad. And
Yeah.
it feels overstimulating. And then you kind of feel weak. So you're kind of, then the ego comes in of like bravado, why do I feel weak? I can navigate the city. And it does just drain.
Yeah, I hear you.
Um, and then sitting with meditating has been difficult because of it doesn't feel like I'm in control because the ego has been so activated. It's such a weird, cyclical, dangerous energy, I feel.
Yes. It's I hear you. And one of the things you got to practice. Wait, it's definitely harder. It's definitely harder. When you so there was a long time where I was practicing and basically in the forest and then in Bali, and it was all these open air studios. And then when I started to teach in the West in 2015, when I moved to Sydney, I think it was, and I was like, oh, I'm teaching inside. I was like, I've never even really practiced that much yoga inside. And it was a big shift. And being in cities was much harder. It's definitely harder. But the idea is that you basically use it as a tool. What happens the deeper you go into practice, that all of the obstacles, all of the challenges are just tools that you're supposed to be dealing with right now on your path, because the path that you're on right now is exactly where you're supposed to be for your next moment of growth and evolution. Because we can't always
Mm.
just run off to be like, okay, I'm just going to run off to Ibiza or Bali or one of these tropical places just to find my
Yeah.
happy place, right? As much as that would be really nice to do, you've got to learn how to cultivate that happy place inside us. And when you're in the city, your practice is asking you to go even deeper now, to be more in control.
Mm.
Like you're very aware. Awareness is the goal. So you're aware of the ego. And now it's like, okay, ego, I understand your game. I understand how it is. How can I train myself throughout the day? How can I take moments of just like, okay, just stopping when you're on the tube or traveling and just drop into the heart and stay there. And it's more about, when I said the cue of looking at the horizon level, do not do the scanning because the hypervigilant, like, scanning for danger,
Mm.
that's
Mm.
what that's
Mm.
what overly stimulates the mind. And when you're in a city, you've got billboards everywhere and it's just mass media, mass marketing. So the brain's getting overly stimulated. And if you can stay in more of like an open focus, I call it, where you look at the horizon level, where it's more like a sea of energy and you're just like, you have more of a bigger vision in front of you and you're looking up more rather than looking down. That helps you to stay a bit calmer and more centered in your practice.
So helpful. Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you, Adam.
yeah, pleasure. Jump in January. It'll be super cool to share a month's practice with you. All right, everyone. Does anyone else have any questions? Would anyone like to share anything or ask any questions? Just unmute yourself and talk if you'd like to ask anything.
Hi,
Okay, who's up?
Caroline.
Oh, Caroline. Yay. Hey, how are you?
How are you? Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So really want to do the challenge slash training in January. But
Yay.
I was wondering, because I've been doing the Ekadasi with you before and it's really powerful.
Yeah.
And I'm having an exam in the middle of January. How will this?
Yeah. That's a good question. Um,
Doing a Zoom meditation.
so
Just
you could still do the challenge. You could still do the challenge. It would be up to you if you want to do Akadasi or not. I think
it's
because you've
about
done it before, I think it would be okay. Um,
it's about to finish.
if you're speaking in the background, please mute yourself because we can hear you. Um, Look, I feel it would be okay. Usually with Ekadasi, you have those moments of outbursts, but you've already done so much in your practice that I don't think it would affect you. I think you'd be able to override it because you're very focused, Caroline. Like I know you, and like you got an exam, you'll just be like, okay, I know what Ekadasi is doing. I got my exam to do. I
Yeah.
don't, yeah, I don't think you'd be like a ball in like tears and not be able to do your exam. Yeah. If anything, I think it would give you some more stability because you're working through those blockages and layers as you're going through an important exam. And in my personal experience, whenever Ekadasis come up on like really pivotal moments, I'm like, okay, I'm just meant to be doing it right now. Like I've done it when I'm moving house before, and it was just like so intense, not having any time through the day, and at like 11 at night, and I'm like, I still got to do Ekadasi today, and it was exactly what I needed in the moment. So yeah, for me, it's all these things get presented for reasons. So use your discernment. I feel like you'd be fine.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, Caroline. Um,
You-
Much love. I'll speak to you soon. And remember, we have full moon practice coming up soon as well. That will happen in a couple of days. So if anyone's not part of the community, I do a free full moon and new moon meditation, and full moon is going to be, next Friday. It's going to be a nice one. December 5th. Wow, we're in December. Crazy time. So does anyone have any questions on today?
No, just something to share.
Yes.
Um, since I met you, Adam, I'm so grateful for all the practices you share and the methods. And I've kept practicing metta every day, and it has changed my life so much. And I would not trade this for anything in life. Just like to encourage everyone to keep practicing and to really go into it, because it's like, yeah, it opens just up all the channels, and it's just so much more fulfilling to live in this energy.
Nice, Corinne. It is. Meta is magic.
It is.
Yeah, meta.
Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Look, even for like all the people who've been through my trainings before, this month challenge will be super valuable. There'll be some new things in there as well. And Ekadasi will be on starting January the 3rd. So jump in. It'll be a perfect time to start Ekadasi if you want to revisit Ekadasi as a group, because it's way more powerful as a group as well. And I will be doing a tier base on payments for this, so it's going to be really accessible for everybody. I want to make sure that everyone can jump in and enjoy this because it's going to be so cool. Okay, friends. As there is no more questions, if you do have a question, your last moment, I'm going to wrap this up. Yep, hour and a half. I send you all so much love and metta. Thank you for joining. I'm going to put this on YouTube right now. Please share it with as many people as you can. If you found it valuable, I would really appreciate you helping me get the word out. All right, everyone.
Thank
Have a beautiful moment wherever you are. Bye. Bye, Jenya. Bye, team. Bye. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, Adam.
Bye, Georgia.
you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Adam.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye,
Thank
bro.
you.
Bye-bye. Thanks, Rudy.